got the recipe. Check out what you need. That girl can cook. That black girl magic, I gotta have it.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the absolute best homemade apple pie, y'all. Alright, so look, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and let's get started. Alright y'all, so look, we're going to start off making our pie crust, y'all. We're making a crust from scratch today, honey. But look, if you don't want to make it from scratch, you can definitely buy the Pillsbury crust that's in the refrigerated section. It works just as fine. But you need 2.5 cups of flour, all-purpose flour. And here I'm just grating in some frozen salted butter. This is 2 sticks of butter. I choose to grate it because it's hard trying to mash frozen butter, y'all. I mean, it is. So I'm adding a 1/2 teaspoon of salt to that because I want this crust to be savory and buttery and, you know, have that saltiness to it, okay? I gotta have that in there. But I'm gonna take a fork, and if you have a pastry cutter, you can use that as well. And I'm actually gonna just kind of mash this butter into this in the flour. Now listen, like I said, when you grate it, it makes this part a lot easier. But if you want to do it inside of a food processor, you can. All right. So I'm gonna add in about 7 tablespoons of cold water, y'all. The water gotta be cold. Because, honey, when you start melting that butter, it's a whole nother issue that you got to deal with, okay? But I'm only adding in 1 to 2 tablespoons at a time. Just add it in there until you get it to that consistency, but do not go over 7. You know, you're pushing it if you get to 8, because then you're going to make your dough a little bit too wet. You don't want it to be wet, y'all. I promise you, it's enough butter and it's enough water in this dough, all right? So once you get all your water in, you have your butter pressed, you just want to press and form this dough into a ball, okay? Just try to get it pressed just good enough so that you can work with it, because, you know, this will kind of save you a little bit of the mess. This is messy, but, you know, doing it inside the bowl will help for sure. So I'm just going to put just a little bit of flour down. You know, I mean, it's not going to really stick because it is super crumbly right now. But I'm going to shape and form this into 2 separate balls. This recipe is going to make a double crust. So if you want a crust for the bottom and you want a crust for the top, boom, there it is. You get 2, okay? If you want to do half, you just, you know, you cut the ingredients in half. That's it. All right, so I'm just going to form this into a ball, and then I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to let them chill, you know, for about 30 minutes to an hour. You know, they really don't have to chill because it's pretty cold. But I'm going to wrap them in plastic anyway, and I'm going to chill them for the duration of me preparing the apples, all right? Alright, so now we're moving into the second part of this recipe, y'all, and that's preparing our filling, the most important part. Well, every part is important because you can mess this all the way up. But anyway, I have 3 pounds of Granny Smith apples, and they're about really a small size. They're not big apples, but it is 3 pounds. And I'm just going to peel all of these apples. I don't have any fancy tools, honey. I'm just using a paring knife because, I mean, why not? And I'm also going to take my chef's knife, and I'm going to cut off all the flesh off of this apple. That's just the easiest way for me to do it. If you have another way that you prefer, honey, go ahead and do it. I'm not gonna stop you, and nobody else will either. So you want to cut your apple. You don't want it to be too thick, you don't want it to be too thin, but you do want it to have some nice consistency so it can stand up to the heat, honey, just like that right there. Okay. And also so they don't get mushy. So that was the perfect size right there, okay? So once you get them all chopped up, add them into a mixing bowl and set them aside, because now guess what we about to do? We about to season them up, honey, all right? So I like my apple pie to be sweet and savory, so I'm not gonna go too heavy on the sugar, all right? But I'm adding in 2/3 cups of brown sugar, that's light brown sugar, and I'm also gonna add in 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, that's the white sugar, and I'm also gonna add in 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now y'all, if you use other apples, just keep in mind that sometimes they are sweeter. These are very tart, all right? I'm using 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. I'm also going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of some nutmeg, because why not? I mean, it is the fall, right? Period. And I'm also going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. Y'all trust me on the ginger. It works so well with those apples, I promise. Okay, so now I'm adding in 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice to cut down on some of that sweetness and so my apples don't turn, and 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Now, y'all, the melted butter is not required, but I just like that buttery taste that it gives, okay? So I'm going to mix this up really well. I'm going to make sure all of these apples are coated in the name of Jesus, amen, because, honey, they have to be coated in order for them to be flavored. And we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Reason being, you don't want no runny, wet pie, all right? So we're putting in 2 tablespoons of flour. A lot of liquid has accumulated down there in the bottom, but we're not going to use all of it, honey, because then your pie going to be wet. We don't need that, all right? So, y'all, we're going to go ahead and move into step 3, which is preparing the crust. So our apples have been peeled. They're sitting aside. This crust has been chilling for about 45 minutes now, because that's how long it took me to cut all them doggone apples up. And now we're just going to roll this out, okay? So I dusted my board with a little bit of flour. I have my rolling pin here. It's also dusted with flour. And I'm just going to roll it from the center and move to the outside edges. And every time I get to the edge, I'm just going to turn it. Y'all, anytime I roll out dough and I need it to be in a circle, this is the formation that I use. I don't know what to call it. There may be a specific name for it, but honey, I tell you, it works like a charm. So once you get it rolled out, here you can see me, I'm just rolling my dough onto my rolling pin, so it makes it easy for transfer, because honey, that dough will break. And I'm going to transfer my dough into my pie dish. Now you can use whatever kind of pie dish you want. You know, it don't have to be all fancy and ceramic like this one. It could just be, you know, a little regular aluminum pie pan. It doesn't matter. But you need to mold your crust into your dish. Make it easy on yourself, honey. And make sure there's a little bit hanging over the edge, okay? And so that was the first crust. Now we're going to work with the second pie crust. You're going to do the same thing. Just roll it out, honey. Roll it all the way out. You may want to make it a little bit bigger if you can, and a little bit thinner, all right? So I'm just still moving in that circular motion, pushing it out to the edges. You see how I spread it, honey? Good. And y'all, I'm so sorry I'm sniffing, y'all. I'm so congested right now. It ain't even funny. Please forgive me. All right. But anyway, we're going to roll this out until it gets nice and thin, and we can get our long strips out of it. Because today, honey, we are making a lattice crust. Have y'all heard of that? I'm sure you have. That's the crust that look like it's playing tic-tac-toe. All right, so look, I'm going to use a pizza cutter, and I'm just going to go and, you know, make me some little strips. That's it. They're all about the same size. They don't have to be perfect, but you do want them to be straight. All right, and here, this part is so easy, y'all. I promise it's not hard. Watch how we do this. First thing, we're going to add in our seasoned apples, okay? You see, I'm using a slotted spoon because I don't want a lot of liquid in this, okay? I do have a little bit reserved there in the bottom, but these apples, they will cook down. They will produce some water, so you don't have to worry about putting all that in there, okay? And honey, if you have more apples that you want to add, you definitely can, because the higher your pie, the taller it's going to sit, okay? So look, this is how we're going to start off the crust. We're going to start with the longest strip. We're going to put it in the center, and then we just work our way out. The way that I'm putting these strips on that pie are the same strips that I'm using. I'm using them in the same order that I cut them in, okay? So you just want to place those strips onto your pie just like this. And then I'm going to show y'all the easiest way to pull them back. Okay, so now that we have that done, you're going to pull back that center strip along with the 2 alternating strips on the side. Y'all see that? It's like tic-tac-toe, y'all, promise. And then you're just going to do the same thing, y'all. You're going to place those strips down. That's the first side. Simple. Okay, and then we're going to do the other side. See, I made them big so we can do this in 2 steps, because honey, ain't nobody got time. Do y'all hear me? Okay, so look, if you want to leave it whole, you actually can. You don't have to do the lattice crust, but if you want to do the lattice crust, why not? I mean, it's beautiful. And this part right here is totally optional. I just wanted to be a little fancy this time and see if it was going to actually work, because I've tried this before and honey, I failed. But this time I actually braided it okay. So I'm actually braiding some extra pie crust that I had in my refrigerator. And I'm just sitting here just braiding this up because, honey, I'm going to put this on the outside edge of my pie just to make it look neat and pretty. Because when I make pies, the crust always tends to look so weird on the side. I hate that. So I made me a braid to cover it up, all right? So look, I had to make 3 of them for them to fit, and then I had to cut them. But if you want to try that out, That's all you have to do. Just take you some extra strings and just cut them up, okay? Cut them into 3 and braid. So obviously you have to know how to braid in order to do that. But honey, look how pretty that looks. And right now I'm just taking my cutter and I'm just going around the edges and cutting off all the excess. Look at that. Making it look nice and pretty and clean, and I'm pressing those together. Now, if you don't do the braid, all you have to do is take any extra strips that you have, and honey, just tuck those strips down into that pie on the side. Make it connect, y'all. Y'all know what an apple pie is supposed to look like, okay? And look at that. Look at that beautiful pie, y'all. Oh my goodness. Okay, so look, now that you have your crust ready, I'm gonna add a tablespoon of sugar and 1 large egg to a bowl, and I'm gonna mix it up, and this is gonna be my egg wash, y'all. And I think I put like maybe a little teaspoon of water in there, but that's not super required. But I'm gonna brush on my egg wash to make this pie look all nice, brown, and pretty. I want it to be flaky and crusty and look all beautiful and brown, like me, when this pie comes out the oven, all right? So look, I'm gonna bake the pie at 425 degrees for 10 minutes, okay? And then I'm gonna drop my heat to 360, and I'm gonna bake it for another 45 to 50 minutes. And honey, look at that. Girl, they better stop playing with this pie here. Homemade crust who? Honey. Oh, it was so buttery, y'all. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So look, let's go ahead and plate this up. And there you have it, guys, our delicious homemade apple pie, y'all, with the ice cream and the caramel. Stop playing with them. Y'all better tell them to stop playing with y'all. Y'all, this pie was so delicious. That crust was so buttery. I think the crust was my favorite part. Forget the apple, forget the caramel, forget the ice cream. The crust was delicious. All that butter, honey, you could just taste it. It was amazing. All right. So look, I want to thank you guys for watching. As always, thank you for supporting my channel. And if you try this recipe out, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see y'all next time in the next video.